A mother's cry. Not always gonna be represented from the tears inside. Sometimes her voice is the only thing she got left, because there's no more tears inside. A mother's cry.
Hello, my name is Michelle Hamilton. I am Jaquan Hamilton's mom. Jaquan is 19 years old and he has autism. He was diagnosed with autism at 2.5 by Riley Hospital. Autism can be in different levels and different forms. They also consider autism, some people are on the spectrum of Asperger's as well. Autism is a neurological disorder that typically, I think the last statistics I read, 1 in 6 boys are diagnosed with autism. It can affect different sensory levels of the person, mental capacity, functions. There's just so many different levels to it. But with my son, he is 19 years old currently. He mentally is 5 years old. He does have some meltdowns and behavioral issues due to the neurological disorder. He is medicated. He has doctors. I've medicated him from 2.5 up till now. Some days they have good days, just like regular people, and some days they have bad days. With Jaquan, on those days, some days he's not able to express himself, and he has basically a grown-up temper tantrum, like a child would have, until he gets what he wants, or if he can't explain what he's trying to do, that's what happens. But most of the time, most autistic people do not like to be touched unless they engage you first. So just wanted to give a little background about my son. He graduated from Wayne High School a couple years ago with his special education diploma, which is a proud moment for him. He doesn't hurt anybody. He likes rabbits and animals and cartoons and things like that. Just a grown-up kid is basically what the best way to describe Jaquan. On September 23rd, Jaquan left the house. We live in the Waynedale area. Jaquan normally, he'll walk around Waynedale. I have gotten phone calls from police before. Nothing bad that he was doing. They just let me know that Jaquan's up by Hills Market or Jaquan's at Waynedale Park. So they definitely have my telephone number. They have my cell number as well as our house number. So I can be contacted at any time. Jaquan did go missing back in April when COVID was really out. There was no way to explain COVID to him. Jaquan ultimately walked all the way across town to my mom's house at the end of the day. We found him at 4 o'clock in the morning with the police's help. Not anti-police, but I am anti anybody who hurts any of my children, especially this one that is severely autistic, doesn't have a comprehension of anything that would be going on around him. And so I'm here to talk about what happened to my son. September 23rd, during that day, I'm looking for him. My daughter says, well, Mom, he ain't came back. He typically will walk around Waynedale and come back. He had come back, so we went looking for him. I rode around and rode around and rode around. It was at least an hour or two looking for him. I get a phone call from St.Joe Hospital. St.Joe Hospital asked me, am I Michelle Hamilton? And I said, yes. And I explained to them, they told me that would I consent for my son to be treated? And I'm like, treated for what? What's going on? Tell me what's going on. Is my son okay? We can't tell you anything. We just need you to tell us if you can consent for him to be treated. No, I'm not consenting anything. I'm on the way to St.Joe Hospital is what I told the caller on the phone. So once I got to St.Joe Hospital, I went to the registration desk, let them know who I am, and I was there for my son. The lady told me to have a seat, so I sat down to wait. There was a nurse that came out and asked me was I his mom, and I explained I was. She was very rude. Her name was Michelle. My name's Michelle. And she goes on to tell me to have a seat and we're not letting anybody back, and you'll just have a seat out here, and we'll keep you updated on your son. So I did not pop off. I thought about it, but what would that have gained at that point? I needed to get to my son. So I sat there maybe about 20 minutes, and then that same nurse, a social worker, and the doctor come out. They call for me and take me into a side room. They explained to me that the police had brought him in. He was not going to be leaving because there was a CIT hold. CIT stands for Crisis Intervention Training. And so the police had decided to go ahead and put a hold on my son, not informing me that he was even in their custody or care. We don't use St.Joe Hospital, so there would have been no other way for St.Joe Hospital to call my cell phone without the police giving them my information, which allows you to know that they have my information because they've called me before. So I then was informed that I can go back to see Jaquan. I went back to see him, and on top of everything that they did to him, I looked at his face and I broke down in tears. My baby's face he had a black eye, he was bruised up. He's a light-skinned black man, so you can definitely see any marks or bruises on him. They had him strapped to the bed, so his arms and his legs were strapped to the bed, and he was naked. They had the cover on him, but he's laying in the bed wiggling around, so the cover was off. He was in a glass room in the hospital at St.Joe, which was even more degrading because anybody that was coming by could see his male parts out. So I'll definitely be dealing with the hospital on that. As I walked around, he was so excited to see me. Mommy, mommy, they hurt me. Mommy, mommy, the police hit me. Mommy, mommy, let me go. I want to get out. My son was in distress. So my first thing was to just calm my son down and try to calm myself down at the same time, because I was livid at this point. I got my son calmed down. They gave him some food. I fed him because they would not release restraints off of him. My goal was to go in the hospital and just bring my son home. But I was told if I did, they would call the police on me if I removed my son from the hospital, even though I am his legal guardian. I'm not his power of attorney. I just want to make everybody aware of that. I went to court, and a judge granted me legal guardianship of my son when he turned 18. In the state of Indiana, if there's a person with a disability, somebody has to go to court to get guardianship of them because they're still deemed as an adult until you get the guardianship paperwork. And he's still an adult, but I am over his care and control. It's been a rough few days. This happened on Wednesday. My son's scared. He's just been up under me. It's just been a sad, sad thing. There at no point should any police have hit my son. It's scarred him. He has 2 therapists that come out to see him in the home as it is. And they're working with him now just to try to get through the emotions that he can get through on his own. He's afraid of police now because I taught him that if you're lost or you're hurt or you're scared, if you see a police officer, that's who can help you. But if a police officer beat my son, there's never, and I know he did, there's never going to be a time where he's going to want to approach a police officer for help if he needed help because he's afraid. No parent should ever have to go through this, whether you got a child with a disability or a non-disability, whether you're black, white, green. There's just no way that any parent should have to be, deal with this issue. I am Jaquan's best advocate. I will always be his advocate to my last breath and until my dying day. And I just want everybody out here to understand that You know, some of these police, I'm not saying all police are reckless, but we got some out here that are. They're not doing their jobs. Fort Wayne PD, they only have a few officers that are trained in crisis intervention. And honestly, every police officer should be trained in crisis intervention, because you don't know if a police officer is going to be off on vacation, sick, whatever. But if everybody's cross-trained in the job, then everybody may have a little bit more understanding. I know they've been hiring a lot of new people. And like I said, I think some of the newer recruits that they've hired are egotistical, eager and hungry, possibly been bullied in life. I don't know. But whatever their deal is, you know, it still doesn't require anybody to punch my son in his face, bruise him up, any of that. And if they knew anything about autism, autistic people, children don't like to be touched. Majority of them don't like to be touched unless they initiate it. So I know that wherever they found him at and they initiated and engaged him, I know at some point somebody grabbed him. In their eyes it's resisting, in his eyes it's not. He doesn't want to be touched. It's a sensory issue. So, you know, if they get a little bit more understanding about people and disabilities, then maybe they'll be able to do their jobs more effectively. But at this point, their job was not effective by brutalizing my child. What do I want to happen from this? I need every Fort Wayne police officer to be cross-trained in crisis intervention. What do I want? I don't want any other parent to have to go through what I'm going through right now. As a parent, we're protective of our kids, and at the end of the day, it broke me to know that I couldn't protect my son at that time. What I'm going to stand on right now is the Word of God. He saw everything. God saw everything. And those officers that did brutalize my child will be brought to justice. And I will not stop fighting for my son's justice in this case. He doesn't have a criminal record. Our family ain't all like that. I have educated people. My daddy fought in Vietnam. He's a Purple Heart recipient. My family ain't trash. We ain't none of that. Even if we was trash, nobody deserves to be brutalized. But at the end of the day, my son will get his justice. And I'm going to make sure of that. That's all I have to say.
A mother's cry. Not always going to be represented from the tears inside. Sometimes her voice is the only thing she got left, because there's no more tears inside. A mother's cry.